As high as the high of Sunday was, the Cleveland Browns with the miraculous comeback victory over the Baltimore Ravens, it all came crashing back down to earth Wednesday morning. The Cleveland Browns announced Deshaun Watson will require season-ending shoulder surgery, a new injury suffered against the Ravens, and his 2023 season is now in the books. We're going to break it all down now. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and as always, I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd just keeps getting bigger and crazier, and I suggest you join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And again, Sunday, and obviously into Monday, even into Tuesday, the absolute high of highs for the Cleveland Browns and their fans. A huge come-from-behind victory, comeback victory in Baltimore against the Ravens, a team that's had your number down in Baltimore for a really, really long time. We go through Monday. We hear that Deshaun Watson is going to have an x-ray on his ankle. Turned out, did have a little bit of an ankle injury, a high ankle sprain. Then this morning, and it was probably for me about a little after 7, just scrolling through Twitter, and Deshaun Watson posting a lot of religious things on his Twitter page. It caught me as off guard. Not enough that I, put out a tweet of my own questioning it or any of that stuff. Just definitely did seem odd at the time, though. Then he flashed forward to about, maybe an hour and a half later. And I'll be honest, I truly thought somebody had hacked Mary Kay Cabot. The tweet came up, Deshaun Watson to miss the rest of the season, and it was just like, there's no way. Somebody had to have, broken in her, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open up. And now we learn the absolute worst is that Deshaun Watson suffered a different shoulder injury in the Baltimore Raven game, most likely on a run where Patrick Queen hit him in his throwing arm. And, for future reference in the future, Deshaun Watson, just please slide. Just please, for the love of God, slide. And Deshaun, to his credit, spoke with the doctor, said, look, if I got to needle up every Sunday, I'll needle up every Sunday. And doctor's trying to tell him that, another hit where it's already broken on that shoulder and, the shoulder would be, messed up possibly forever. And you get the ungodly terrible news that after finally seeing peak Deshaun Watson for the Cleveland Browns in that game in Baltimore, and somehow amazingly enough, he made it to halftime, through halftime, got to the second half and went 14 of 14, ran the ball, led his team to a game-winning drive, and somehow it's all over now for Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns in 2023. We're not going to get into pointing fingers at the general manager because, all couldn't love the general manager on Sunday because everything that went well and the Browns winning the game. And now everybody wants to play Monday morning quarterback on this, and it's ridiculous. You just cannot. You base a man's job, especially a man whose job is general manager, on all things, not just one thing. We're not going to get into who could have been here, who wasn't here, who did they trade away. And, we'll focus on who is going to be here, and we'll get to that in segment 2. Obviously, segment 3, what, my realistic expectations are for this team going forward from this point on with 8 games to go here in the 2023 season, currently sitting at 6-3. But Deshaun, look, everybody knows the deal and how he ended up here and how he got here and everything, obviously, with his off field. And, was I ever a fan of it? No. when a fan of bringing that type of person in, not so much bringing that type of player in. Yes, very much a fan of that move. Last season, obviously very difficult with missing the first 11 games. You saw some good signs in 2022. We all thought it was going to be in a monster 2023 season. And for the most start out pretty well. Deshaun Watson was 5-1 for the start as starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this year. And, finally put together two really, really good back-to-back games after all the time that was missed from Tennessee up until returning for, full start against the Arizona Cardinals and obviously a full start on the road at the Baltimore Ravens. And you saw a player who just was all bought in, dialed in. The Cleveland Browns had felt like they had become Deshaun Watson's franchise. We did episodes yesterday with Pete Smith. I did an episode on Monday talking about how I thought this offense was really starting to fall in line, with your top two receivers being, of course, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, the involvement with David Njoku in the tight end in the passing game, starting to establish Jerome Ford as, basically your top running back. And, you had a sprinkling of Kareem Hunt in there as well. This is really difficult. It just, for you Browns fans who have been Browns fans your entire lives, and of course now me with my 7th season, I give you guys all the credit in the world, because sometimes the script that goes along with being a Cleveland Browns fan is so unrealistic. If you ever send it in to a director, they would laugh at you and say, well, look, come back with something at least somewhat close to being realistic. It is a crazy, I don't know if hex or just, if anything can go wrong, a Murphy's Law, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong for the Cleveland Browns franchise. And look, I'm not saying that this season is over, and I'm actually still kind of positive about this season. But you guys maybe finally had a position, and even the naysayers finally had a spot where they could say maybe that they felt good about this team going forward with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. You get this news today, and it's just, and you people have suffered gut punches for years, decades, many decades, some of you, 4 and 5 decades for some of you Browns fans. And then you get this one here today. Of course, it doesn't help. It's Pittsburgh Steeler week, I can imagine. But the absolute just bombshell of this news coming today. And, even finally getting NFL big media to shut up about the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson, and maybe starting to respect the fact that they're just a really, really good football team. And then just as quickly, all the naysayers come out like the buzzards flocking on a dead carcass on the side of the road. There they all are, pointing fingers, making jokes, picking on your franchise. And it's just terrible. And look, for Deshaun Watson, to finish that game, a lot of people took shots at him about taking his money and run. Trust fund baby, right, Brady Quinn? Yeah, we all remember that one. Yeah, when's the last time you finished a game with a broken shoulder? Went 14-14 in the second half. But the Browns get the absolute worst possible news. And all we knew was Deshaun Watson was getting his ankle looked at. And little did we know, it was also his shoulder. And sadly for Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns and all you great fans, Deshaun Watson's 2023 season is in the books after only 9 games. We're going to switch it up here. This team now turns to Dorian Thompson-Robinson as its starting quarterback. We're going to have our thoughts on that, some expectations later on in the show of what we can expect from this team going forward. I am Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns, and I appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. All you got to do is explain what you're looking for, the education, the experience, programs computer-wise that you might need as a requirement for your job. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I am Jeff Lloyd, your host here at Locked On Browns, and I appreciate every single one of you that makes Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Of course, the everyday crowd just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I suggest you join in on the party and join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. Your big Cleveland Browns news of the day: quarterback Deshaun Watson to get surgery next Tuesday in Los Angeles. Broken bone in his shoulder. Doctor determined that any hits to that shoulder could just do nothing but cause further damage and possible permanent damage on that shoulder, ending Deshaun Watson's 2023 season after 9 games, 8 games left on the 2023 regular season slate for your Browns. Browns have announced that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, will be the starter Sunday at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, side note, white face mask will be back, so that's going to fix everything. Just having a little fun, guys, trying to keep it light. But first off, I think a lot of people, why DTR? What I can tell you for a fact is that when the Browns were loading up to leave Seattle to come back home after the tough last-second loss to the Seattle Seahawks, the mind was made that if Deshaun Watson was not going to be able to go against the Arizona Cardinals, that the Browns were going to go back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They had felt much better about where he was during his growth through practices, through film work, felt he was getting a firmer understanding of the playbook, getting a firmer grasp in his own skin of being an NFL quarterback. These were things that they weren't necessarily sure of, and it's not DTR's fault. There was no thought of DTR being the quarterback against the Baltimore Ravens. DTR probably found out about 10:45 that morning that he was going to be the starting quarterback against the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, a really, really tough spot to put a 5th-round rookie in. We all know how that start went. Then there were subsequent games that were kind of big, a couple of games that were on the road, and the Browns did not feel comfortable putting DTR back in those situations at the time. So when they left Seattle, they felt that if they did not have Deshaun Watson for the home game against the Arizona Cardinals, they were going to make the switch back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That was their plan. As it worked out, Deshaun had texted everybody that Monday morning after he woke up and said, I got to be honest, guys. I feel as good as I felt in 5 weeks. I feel no pain. I feel no impingement. I can pick my arm up without issue. And all of a sudden, you didn't have to think about who was going to start against the Arizona Cardinals because all of a sudden, Deshaun Watson was back in place to start against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, DTR, I was a fan. His tape at UCLA was excellent. His athleticism, and one of the reasons I liked him, and if you remember, we did obviously discussions with Pete Smith. What we liked is we felt that there was some Deshaun Watson to DTR's game. And we've talked for years, I've talked for years, that if you're trying to find a backup quarterback, you want to try and find somebody who's got some similarities to your starting quarterback. Why does Tyler Huntley look pretty good playing for the Baltimore Ravens? Because some of what his game is similar to what Lamar Jackson does. Obviously not the same thing, or Tyler Huntley would have his own starting position. So would DTR. If he was all and everything that Deshaun Watson is, he probably would have drafted a boatload higher and would probably have his own team. But he's got athleticism. He's got ball accuracy. He's got good velocity. These are all things we saw over the summer. In the beginning of the summer, obviously, if you all remember, the team went down to the Greenbrier in West Virginia. DTR wasn't much part of that. They weren't really using him at the time. And Josh Dobbs was getting those reps. Kellen Mond was getting those reps. Then all of a sudden, when they came back from West Virginia, they started to work DTR into practices and then started to work him into higher personnel groupings as far as third string, second string, and even some first string reps. And all of a sudden, the rookie didn't look like a rookie, and he had passed Kellen Mond very, very quickly. And he had passed after his first exhibition game against the New York Jets, Browns were 100% firm in their belief that he was already better than Josh Dobbs at the time. Look, Josh Dobbs, whatever he's done this year, and all the credit in the world to Josh Dobbs, but that was not a player that anybody had saw or anybody knew was going to be able to do what Josh Dobbs has done this season. Again, mad credit to Josh Dobbs. Should the Browns have gotten in a bidding war? No. Deshaun Watson told him before the trade deadline, my arm is good. I am ready to go. So what were you going to trade for Josh Dobbs for? To bring him in and do nothing? And the other thing is you already saw Josh Dobbs in practice look less of a player than Dorian Thompson-Robinson. If you're going to base everything for Dorian Thompson-Robinson off of that Baltimore Raven game, it's foolish, it's incorrect, and it's the wrong way to go. The kid had 2 hours of notice to go in to play against a team that most people feel is the best team in the AFC. And it did not go as planned. And you know what? The Browns couldn't do anything in that game. However, the second time around against Baltimore Ravens, they did do a lot of things. They ran the ball much better. The receivers got open more. They were able to complete some passes. Do I think DTR is going to go out there and light it up? I understand, maybe play PJ Walker against the Pittsburgh Steelers just to have a veteran in a tough game. If this game was in Pittsburgh, I think that's the way they would go. But this game is at home. And I got news for you. This Browns fans that are going to be in attendance on Sunday were already pissed off because the Steelers were coming to town, and that's where you lost Nick Chubb. This place is probably going to be as loud as it's ever been in a while on Sunday, rooting for this Cleveland Browns team. They hate the Steelers to begin with. The Steelers took out Nick Chubb. Now this team does not have Deshaun Watson for the rest of the season. There is 8 games left in this regular season. We're going to find out just exactly what DTR has got. And as far as DTR starting and PJ Walker not, it's a really, really tough position if PJ Walker was being handed the reins and starting, and now you have to yank PJ Walker off the field and put in the rookie DTR. It's a little bit more comfortable position for PJ Walker to come off the bench to come relieve DTR. God forbid it's not working out the way you're hoping it's working out, than it is to do vice versa. Because then again, you're just putting more and more pressure on the rookie quarterback. Things that I do like for DTR, he and Cedric Tillman have a fantastic relationship, obviously high school teammates. This is a player the Browns need to get involved in this passing offense. These two already have a relationship together. Amari Cooper, DTR, obviously there's going to be some work that has to be done there. Elijah Moore, David Njoku. But look, we all fell in love with Dorian Thompson-Robinson over the summer, and let's not act like we didn't. The smart play, getting involved as a blocker on running plays just because he had the brains and the wherewithal to understand the play, watch the play develop, and get involved in that avenue. So we're all going to sit down. We're going to root for number 17 on Sunday. We're going to root for number 17 going further. The Browns have Pittsburgh still on the schedule, at Denver, at the Rams, Jacksonville, Bears, Houston, Jets, and, of course, a Week 18 season finale against the Cincinnati Bengals. It is DTR's time. It is brutal that Deshaun Watson season ended like it did after all he went through, being injured once to get back, playing as well as he's ever played as a Cleveland Brown. And now all of a sudden it's all over again in a wink of an eye. I am Jeff Lloyd. We're going to continue here on your latest Locked On Browns. I appreciate everybody for being along with me. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. With basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, Donovan Mitchell and Amari Cooper at a 11.5 combo of 3-pointers made plus receptions. This is something you actually can do with Prize Picks. You want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players get injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com And you use it, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Jeff Lloyd, we're going to close it out here. Your latest Locked On Browns. And obviously the somber news, the sad news today, the Cleveland Browns announced in this morning, Deshaun Watson putting out, obviously some religious, passages on his Twitter feed and other social medias, did think something about it. Not enough that I went any further with it. And then, like I said, I thought Mary Kay Cabot had been hacked. I was about to give Pittsburgh Steelers fans, some kudos for hacking Mary Kay Cabot's Twitter. And it all came flooding in. Schefter, Rappaport, all the boys came rolling in. Deshaun Watson, broken shoulder, suffered against the Baltimore Ravens, was able to finish the game against the Ravens and obviously play extremely well while finishing that game against the Baltimore Ravens. Tried to ignore doctor's advice, say, I will take a needle every week. I want to be out there with my teammates. And the doctors ultimately telling him that just wasn't really an option because one more hit in the wrong way would cause permanent damage and probably affect, Deshaun Watson's career for the rest of his career. So Deshaun, next Tuesday in Los Angeles, will undergo surgery. His season is now over. Dorian Thompson-Rodgers is now the quarterback of the foreseeable future here for the Browns. PJ Walker, the backup, and the Browns will probably bring somebody in. If it's not somebody, that, been around the league for a while, my guess is Kellen Mond is here maybe to finish out this week before the Browns can find just who that other guy will be. But from everything I've heard, the Browns believe and hope to believe that that guy is going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson to close out the 2023 season. Obviously, there were some pretty confident episodes out after the Baltimore Raven win. And another one last night with Pete Smith joining us. Do I think it's over for the Browns here in 2023? No. This team is 6-3. Could this team go 4-4 down the stretch? Absolutely. Could this team go 5-3 down the stretch? Absolutely. I don't see why not. You have best defense in the NFL. You're finally establishing your running game. Jerome Ford is probably going to be even bigger than we had thought after Sunday's game against Baltimore. You're just going to need him to go out there and be a real huge part of this because you might not be able to throw the ball with the ease you have, of course, with Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper, still got to keep Coop involved. Hopefully this is a chance to get Elijah Moore involved a little bit more. Hopefully this is a chance to get Cedric Tillman involved. He's been playing a lot, just not involved. Continued work with David Njoku and getting him, higher and higher in the statistical output and starting to get the league to understand just what a phenomenal player the Chief truly is. But you're going to lean on your defense here. And, obviously special teams will be huge, and they have been to this point, Paraquez and, of course, Dustin Hopkins. But you're going to look at that defense and, say, look, guys, everything you've done for these first 9 games has been absolutely amazing. And it's really, really tough to look at something like that and say, hey, we could use a little more. But facts are facts. The reality is the Cleveland Browns need their defense to play even better than they have to this point. Instead of, letting teams get near 20, you certainly probably want to keep them in the teens. You're going to have to keep these scores down. You're going to have to keep them closer, more attainable for the Browns offense to score more than their opponent. There's still other things you got to figure out here. Who's going to be your left tackle this week? We don't even know, how right tackle is going to work out because, did not get to it yet. And we'll get to it, obviously, as the week goes on. DeJuan Jones did not return to practice on Wednesday. So the Browns may be rolling out Jaron Christian and James Hudson as your tackles here yet again for a second straight week. Wyatt Teller did not practice today. I'm heard not to worry about that. That was more a veteran rest day, even though, Wyatt was designated with an injury. But they don't believe there would be any issues for Wyatt Teller to go out there and hopefully perform well Sunday against Pittsburgh Steelers. It's been a crazy, crazy Wednesday. I mean, we all went to bed Sunday sky high, Monday sky high, even last night feeling sky high about this Cleveland Browns team where they're sitting right now at 6-3, with a chance for this weekend to break right Thursday night between Ravens and Bengals and then Sunday Browns versus Steelers with the Browns the possibility to control their own destiny here in the AFC North in 2023. That still could possibly happen. even if it does, obviously it's going to be a lot tougher road without Deshaun here. But we're going to look at Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and this is a guy the Browns loved. They followed him all around during the draft cycle. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was one of their official visits that came to Berea, on an NFL draft visit. Browns have a lot of faith in him. Browns really like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and they are not going to let that week 4 game against the Baltimore Ravens change any of their feelings on what they believe Dorian Thompson-Robinson is or what Dorian Thompson-Robinson can be for this team in the future. It is 17th time. It is DTR time, and we'll see the way it all plays out. We got a lot more coming here on Locked On Browns this week before we get you, obviously, to the weekend, to game day Sunday, but we will cover it all from soup to nuts, just like we always do. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. In the good times and the bad times, the one thing you count on is that I will be here every single day. I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every day. The everyday crowd just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And again, in good times and bad times, we all get together here on the LOB. Make sure you're part of the Locked On Browns family, and make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Browns podcast on YouTube. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. We'll continue through the week, but for now, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go, Browns.